Alright, John here, and today we're going to continue with the Stallone Marathon and review all three Expendables movies and the first two Creed movies. So let's go ahead and kick this off here. So right off the bat, I'm going to give you like a quick review and then kind of add a little bit more thoughts here. But starting off with the Expendables and my review for this, Sylvester Stallone leads this ensemble of action stars and this entertaining action movie throwback. Jason Statham, Jet Li, and Dolph Lundgren were great additions. The villains were fine, and good action sequences. My issues I would say, the camera moved a bit sporadic in certain fight scenes, and the CGI blood wasn't needed. But overall, this is still very solid. But yeah, I mean, The Expendables is a great experience to see in the theater. And in fact, I saw it like 3 or 4 times. Because when this came out, this was around the time I was working at the theater and I saw movies for free. So I saw The Expendables like 3 or 4 times. And it's a very solid, action throwback. I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect. I mean, rewatching it again, to me, I would have touched up the action a little bit better. There's some good action scenes. But there's a bit of shaky cam here and there. The CGI blood, again, wasn't needed. Honestly, as much as I like the group, to me, I would have kept the main 4 of, just have it start off with 4. This is what it should have... Okay, my opinion, this is what the group should have been. You should have had Stallone, Statham, Jet Li, and Dolph Lundgren. I like Terry Crews, but honestly... I could go without Terry Crews and definitely Randy Couture. If you took those 2 characters out and you just start off with 4 people, I think it would have been better. And then you could build from there. Eric Roberts was a good villain with, Steve Austin. And again, it was a great, theater experience. And I'm like, okay, it can only go up from here. Who else can they get? And I was excited about the future. What other names can they get? But, with this series, who would have thought that things would go quickly downhill? So, with that being said, let's move on to the Expendables 2. My review of Expendables 2. Stallone returns with Statham in this sequel. There are issues that I have that starts with Jet Li exiting the film early on and Dolph Lundgren only there to be a joke, which the humor throughout didn't work for me. Now, there are some nice appearances from other action legends, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is our main villain. However, the final fight with Stallone versus Van Damme was very underwhelming. This is a sequel that has a few good ingredients, but is outweighed by disappointment and was the start of the downfall for this series. The Expendables 2 was directed by Simon West, who directed Con Air. And when you look at this cast here, on the surface, this should have technically been the better movie. You have the same people come back, like the same group of, Stallone and Statham and Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Terry Crews, Randy Couture, but, Arnold and Bruce Willis, they come back here for a little bit more screen time. Where in the first movie they had cameos, here they come back for a little bit more, and they're involved in the action in the third act. Jean-Claude Van Damme is your main villain with Scott Adkins. You have Chuck Norris appear in the film in a couple of scenes. So again, technically, and looking at the surface, the cast of this movie, this should have been the better film. But there's a lot of issues. Liam Hemsworth, for some reason, they had to put him in this movie. And thank God he was killed off by Van Damme's character. The humor that I thought was more goofier this time around. Where in the first movie you had a little bit of humor, like with Jet Li's character. But it didn't take over the entire movie. Here, it's like we got to throw in some kind of... fourth wall joke, or, a joke about, who's next, Rambo, and Just one-liners that didn't work, and moments where, again, the humor was goofy, or Dolph Lundgren, talking about eating whale ass. So, yeah, I didn't care for the humor. Again, the main fight between Stallone and Van Damme, you would think between these two legends that this final fight should be an instant classic, and it was instantly forgettable. Van Damme didn't, or was not given much offense. It's like, for me, this is where, starting with the second film, I think a lot of ego took over, coming from Sly, or just a lot of the people involved here. Again, this is where, for me, the ego took over the franchise, and things started to go downhill. And by the end of the film, where, again, you have the final fight between Stallone versus Van Damme, like, again, this should be like a 5-star classic. This should be a classic fight between two action legends, and it ends very quickly, and it's very forgettable and underwhelming. And overall, this movie here, for me, for other people, they say it's the best one of the three, but I say it's where things were starting to go downhill, and it's a disappointing film. But moving on to The Expendables 3. My review of The Expendables 3, Sylvester Stallone is back with Statham in the third installment. This one is what made this series truly expendable and killed the concept. Going after new blood to try and cater to younger audiences was just bad. If there are any positive notes, I would say Mel Gibson as the main villain has some moments to shine. Harrison Ford appears in here and is having fun. The rest of this is just pathetic. But watching The Expendables 3 again, because I haven't seen it since 2014, I was infuriated by just how quickly things went downhill with this franchise, to the point where I wanted to throw this Blu-ray set out the window. Like, now that I have a window right here, and the road is just outside, I could just easily throw this Blu-ray set out the window, and I would not give one iota, because by the third film, this franchise, was just killed. They killed the concept. And now we got a fourth movie coming out next month. Yeah, because I'm really excited to see Megan Fox and 50 Cent added to this ensemble. And I didn't care for the new blood. They're all bland and cardboard. Antonio Banderas, I like him as an actor, and technically you would think like he would fit in this type of movie. But, he plays a very annoying character. Wesley Snipes, again, another name that you would think, okay, he belongs in this type of movie. But, he's given nothing to do. He's rescued in the opening of the film, and talking about jing-a-lang, jing-a-lang. And he's not given any moments to shine. Again, Mel Gibson, he's a positive in the movie. Although, again, like in the second film, you would think a fight between Stallone and Mel Gibson should be something legendary. And it was a fart in the wind. Harrison Ford, he has a few scenes in the movie, which is cool to see Harrison Ford in there. And he has a couple of scenes with Sly, which is cool. Like Jet Li, he returns at the very end of the film. Arnold's in there for a little bit, but it's nothing to write home about. It's a film that, okay, I like Mel Gibson, I like Harrison Ford, but I hate everything else. And it's just a pathetic movie. Not even Robert Davi, who appears in the film, can't, save the movie. But I didn't care for the new blood. I thought they were all bland and cardboard, and they have personalities of a potato. So yeah, The Expendables 3 is a pathetic movie. But moving on to Creed, My review for Creed: Stallone falls back into the character of Rocky Balboa. Michael B. Jordan as Creed to me just comes off very unlikable, which I blame more on the direction or script by Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler brings some interesting shots and style, but I just cannot stand the way these characters are written, especially a plot point involving Rocky dealing with a disease felt forced, plus other elements. The story can work, but I didn't care for the execution. But watching this again, I don't think Stallone's bad in the film. He does put on a good performance, but for me, the film's biggest problem is the script. I don't like the way these characters are written. The character of Creed just comes off very unlikable to me. And I don't care for the romance in the film between, Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson. For me, I would have, given how, Stallone directed Rocky Balboa, and he did a great job with that, maybe he's the one that should have directed this movie. If you want to keep Michael B. Jordan, that's fine. Have Stallone direct the movie and help out with the screenplay. That's why, again, Rocky Balboa is such a great movie. Maybe he should have, taken over directing duties. Ryan Coogler, can bring some style to the movie. He has some style with the direction, but I just don't know if he's great with screenplays. But yeah, so it's a film that, the story, the idea can work, but again, I just didn't care for the execution. Moving on to Creed 2, which I have here. My review of the film: Michael B. Jordan returns as Creed in this sequel. This time going up against Ivan Drago's son. Stallone returns as Rocky Balboa, which is probably his last performance as the character. Dolph Lundgren returns as an older Ivan Drago. Slightly better than the first movie to me, but again, the writing doesn't get me invested in these characters. Ivan Drago comes off more sympathetic, which is puzzling, given how much of an unstoppable machine he was. This and the first movie, for me, go hand in hand in terms of execution and creative choices that I don't care for. And again, Creed 2, it's slightly better for me, but I'm just not a fan of these movies. They kind of go hand in hand for me. I know a lot of people are going to disagree, because a lot of people, and I saw this in the theater, and it was a great experience, I won't lie, seeing it with a packed crowd, and everybody jumped to their feet, in certain moments. So that was cool, but I just don't care for Creed, and I don't really care much for Creed 2. Even though this is slightly better, at least Rocky doesn't have cancer in here, which, in this movie, they kind of forgot about that. I mean, Ivan Drago, again, they try to make him more sympathetic, and, they try to humanize Ivan Drago, and, it doesn't work for me, because you look at Rocky 4, he killed Apollo Creed, and then we're supposed to feel sorry for him here. And, even, the actor they got to play his son, you can't tell me that in these movies here, the antagonist, Ricky Conlan in this movie, and here Victor Drago, are these characters anything to write home about? You look back at the Rocky series, every character had a personality. These characters, the opponents, they don't have personalities. They're just bland. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of these movies. So a lot of people are, and that's fine. I still haven't seen Creed 3, but that's it for now. I just want to say thank you for watching my reviews of these movies here. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.